What do you mean we didn't secure the contract? Xander Zeke gazed intently across the boardroom table, his voice a measured whisper, commanding the room's attention. The VPs cast sidelong looks at one another, anticipating a voice to break the silence. At last the head of operations prepared to speak, clearing his throat. They claimed we were lacking in speed. The delivery arrived 2 weeks behind schedule. They transitioned to arrival. Xander reclined, his jaw clenched. He had created this company from the ground up. His initial factory was a lease garage, housing 3 machines and a vision. At this point, they boasted 8 fully operational manufacturing sites throughout the state, churning out high-volume consumer electronics for leading clients. However, recently, signs of deterioration began to emerge. Delayed deliveries, increasing employee turnover, concerns raised by clients regarding quality. He was done with sanitized reports and corporate jargon. He sought the truth. 2 days later, Xander strolled into the Riverbend Facility Factory No. 4, clad in steel-toe boots, worn jeans, and a gray hoodie. He went unnoticed by everyone around him. His beard had flourished. Eyewear, New York accent. He registered as Illy via the staffing agency. They had no prior acquaintance with him. The majority of the plant workers had merely glimpsed his visage in the rare company-wide email. It was a surprise to everyone that the CEO was on the line. Put on a vest. Illy, the floor manager, a tall figure with cropped hair and a clipboard, barked, "You're on assembly. You are currently engaged in training sessions with Jorge. Keep him moving forward." Jorge, a robust man in his 30s with weary eyes, offered a slight nod. "Come along with me." The factory buzzed with the cacophony of machines, worry, and conveyor belts clicking. Jorge demonstrated to Xander the process of assembling circuit boards, verifying them with a scanner, and smoothly sending them down the production line. The tempo was quick, excessively swift. In just an hour, Xander felt a throbbing pain in his wrists. Jorge remained silent about his grievances. "Is it consistently this quick?" Xander inquired, amidst the clamor. Jorge offered a weary smile. "Today is a wonderful day." They toiled tirelessly until noon. As the brake bell echoed through the halls, Xander instinctively grabbed his water bottle, while Jorge remained still, seemingly lost in thought. "Are you not having something to eat?" Jorge shook his head in disbelief. "I need to complete my assigned tasks. If I don't achieve it, we're required to stay late." Xander frowned at the thought of no overtime pay unless it exceeded 12 hours. "Hold on, they make you stay," Jorge averted his gaze. "Just wait and see." As the day progressed, the line began to dwindle. A sensor became unresponsive. "Machine 3 has malfunctioned." The manager approached with urgency, raising his voice at a young woman who was attempting to resolve the issue. "Anita, that marks the 3rd occurrence this week," Xander observed, as Anita recoiled at the thought of the consequences for her mistake. Her hands quivered slightly as she adjusted the machine. As soon as it began to function once more, she stepped back and cleared her tears. "Is that how he always speaks to you?" Xander inquired softly. She gave a slight nod, her gaze fixed downward. "He claims we should feel fortunate to be employed." As the clock struck 5, the bell echoed through the stillness, yet no one stirred. "What is keeping them here?" Xander inquired of Jorge. Jorge let out a deep sigh. "We fell short of our target. We remain until we accomplish it. However, we cannot be held responsible for the malfunction of the machine. It's of no consequence. They will secure the exits if we attempt to depart." Xander felt a knot in his stomach. He observed as individuals shuffled slowly back to the line. There was no dissent. Everyone complied. At 8:30, the line came to a halt. The majority of employees exited in silence, their footsteps barely audible as they moved along. Anita lingered, dabbing the perspiration from her brow as she packed away the final crates. Xander guided her quietly into the open air. The parking lot was shrouded in darkness. Xander lingered in his car for a full 10 minutes before finally turning the key in the ignition. His hands trembled with an unsteady rhythm. This was not the enterprise he created. This did not align with his principles. The following morning he returned, not as Ali, but as his true self. The front doors to the Riverbend facility glided open precisely at 7:42 a.m. Xander walked among them, his clean-shaven face, pressed navy jacket, and polished boots, presenting a sharp contrast to the casual attire around him. No hoodie, no alias, a man in his own right. The founder of Zeke Tech Industries strode confidently into a company that felt foreign to him, causing the receptionist to halt, her cup suspended mid-air. "How may I assist you, sir?" Xander remained silent. He strolled by the front desk, traversed the hallway adorned with worn safety posters, and headed directly into the operations office. The manager he had shadowed, Greg, was casually reclining in his chair, engrossed in his phone. As Greg raised his gaze, he found himself blinking in surprise. Xander spoke with a calm demeanor. "You can stand up, if you wish." Greg gradually lifted himself up. "Mr. Zeke, I wasn't informed that you weren't meant to be here," Xander interjected. "Where's Anita?" Greg paused, uncertainty in his voice. "Perhaps on the third line." Xander remained silent. He pivoted and made his way back across the factory floor. The machines were already humming, but now that he was off the line, other sounds emerged. Suppressed cough, the shuffling of sneakers, a supervisor's sharp commands about pace. He noticed her at the rear, Anita, meticulously inspecting a bin filled with organized components. Her hands glided with precision, each movement intentional and measured. Her gaze frequently flicked to the floor manager, who was pacing nearby. She was unaware of his approach. "Anita," Xander said, and she glanced up, a look of confusion crossing her face. Indeed, he took a moment to pause. "I am Xander Zeke," and her arms became rigid. "Did I make a mistake? Am I in the wrong? Absolutely not. However, many aspects of your surroundings have indeed changed," he remarked. "I look forward to our conversation later. For the time being, continue with your current approach." She offered a slight nod, yet her brow remained creased. Xander took a step back, then faced the floor manager, a lean man in his 40s clutching a clipboard and sporting a scruffy beard. A man was scolding a newcomer for failing to stack trays with sufficient speed. "Excuse me," Xander remarked. The man pivoted, his voice remaining unforgiving. "Please ensure you take your place in the queue for any requests you may have. Once more we find ourselves lacking this morning." Xander stated matter-of-factly that he was in charge. The clipboard descended. "Hold on, what is your name?" "Derek." "Derek, your time here has come to an end." The ensuing silence was profound and instantaneous. Xander kept his voice steady. All eyes on the line had shifted. For a brief instant, even the machine appeared to hush. "You can gather your belongings and exit through the front," Xander stated. "Your final check will be mailed to you. Leave immediately." Derek's mouth parted, yet he caught a glimpse in Xander's eyes that paralyzed him. He chose not to engage in a dispute. He let the clipboard fall onto the table and strolled away. Xander glanced at the closest supervisor. A woman near the control console stepped forward, identifying herself as the second in command on this floor. "Indeed, that is me. Lee, what's the duration of your stay here?" "Half a dozen years. Effective immediately, you are now responsible for this floor." She paused, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. "Absolutely, sir. Shall we have a conversation upstairs in 10 minutes? Xander made his way back to the operations office. Greg remained in the same spot where he had been abandoned. Xander commanded, "Sit." Greg settled into the chair, his gaze flickering anxiously around the room. "Greg, let's keep this straightforward," Xander stated. "Yesterday, I spent more than 12 hours on your floor. I observed you raise your voice at the employees. I observed you overlook safety issues and compel individuals to remain beyond their scheduled hours. I noticed you walked by a malfunctioning scanner 3 times without reporting it for maintenance. You commanded that floor with the intensity of a prison yard." "It's not as straightforward as that," Greg replied hastily. "For months now, we've been operating with a shortage of staff. I've been striving to give my utmost effort." "Do you really believe I take pleasure in making people stay late?" Xander declared. "It's over. Submit your badge immediately." Greg let out a derisive laugh. "It seems I'm being let go. Is it really that simple?" "No, I'm holding you responsible. If you believe that's equivalent, You really shouldn't be in a position of leadership. Greg rose to his feet, flung his badge onto the desk, and exited without uttering a single word. Moments later, Lee stepped into the office, casually wiping her hands on her jeans. Xander commanded, "Take a seat." "There's much to explore," Lee observed thoughtfully. "This has taken me completely by surprise," Xander replied. "I wasn't either. Yet, here we stand at this moment. Share all the details with me." She cast a fleeting look at the door, before turning, her gaze back to him. "For more than a year, we've faced a shortage of staff on Line 3. The most recent hiring phase introduced temporary staff, yet they tend to leave quickly. Individuals experience exhaustion, continuous flow. There will be no additional compensation for hours worked beyond the standard schedule, unless the total reaches 12 hours. Safety checks are conducted in haste. The scanner you observed has received 3 flags. No one from maintenance showed up. I've been documenting it, but Greg has hidden away most of my observations. What was the reason for not bringing it to corporate's attention, really?" she remarked. "We ceased to have faith that anyone above was paying attention." Xander inclined his head with deliberation. "You're tuned in now. What is required to operate this floor effectively?" 3 additional permanent positions filled. A well-operating scanner, along with an individual adept at organizing hours to prevent exhaustion by the end of the week. "You'll have all 3 today," she said with a blink. "Is it today?" "Absolutely. I will take care of staffing and maintenance. You manage the time. Everyone leaves at the end of their shift without compensation. There will be no exceptions. I will ensure it gets done, sir." Now Xander expressed, "I wish to speak with Jorge." Lee's expression became gentler. "He's truly one of the exceptional ones." Xander acknowledged this with a nod. He discovered Jorge in the break room, perched at the distant bench, with a burrito and a bottle of water. Xander took a seat opposite him. Jorge lifted his gaze gradually. "You are that person. I exist. I sensed that something was amiss. You posed an excessive number of inquiries. Is that really so clear? You remained silent about any grievances, too. Most newcomers give up by lunchtime." Xander expressed his intent to learn, and indeed, he succeeded. "You've been holding on to that line," Jorge shrugged. "I'm simply working to maintain my position. You've accomplished so much more than that. What's the duration of your stay here?" 8 years have passed. Joined after the previous facility shut down. This one was meant to surpass expectations. "It shall be," Xander declared. "Commencing today." Jorge inclined his body, eager and attentive. "Are you truly sincere about that?" "I certainly do, and my journey begins with you. Congratulations. You are now the shift lead, starting right away. Comprehensive benefits, eligibility for bonuses, and a 5% salary increase." Jorge's eyelids fluttered momentarily. "Excuse me, you've earned it," Xander remarked. "I require individuals I can rely on in the field." Jorge fell silent for a moment. He gave a single nod. "All right." Xander got to his feet. "Wrap up your break. You'll require the energy." By noon, the maintenance team arrived to fix the scanner. The HR department redirected to full-time hires from a facility in Glendale that had excess staff and initiated the paperwork for a 3rd hire. A whiteboard was positioned by the entrance, detailing new policies, no mandatory overtime, organized shift rotations, and an updated safety protocol. Xander assembled everyone on the floor for a briefing. The machines were halted. A rare and expensive intermission, yet an essential one. "For the past week, I've observed the world through your eyes," he confessed. "And I can't say I'm pleased with the discoveries I've made. That transformation begins now. Those who show you disrespect, treat you poorly, or neglect your well-being, will not remain in your life for long." He surveyed the surroundings of the room. Expressions were wary, intrigued. Some, such as Anita's, were impossible to decipher. "I didn't create this company to be a place that instills fear in those who enter," Xander remarked. "I created it out of the conviction that we could achieve something superior. Today marks the beginning of that belief." There was no applause. Silence filled the air. Yet a change occurred. Individuals adjusted their posture. gaze ascended Lee. Advanced with purpose. Return to your places, she instructed. We have a path to follow. With the machines roaring back to life, Xander strode across the floor once more. No longer undercover or concealed, but fully visible. This time they noticed him. This time they observed him observing. And this time, he had no intention of leaving. By Thursday morning, the Riverbend facility had shed its claustrophobic atmosphere. The atmosphere lingered thick with machine, oil and static, yet the quiet that fell between shifts had begun to ease. Conversations flowed freely, and for the first time since his arrival, Xander witnessed two workers sharing a laugh as they entered the break room. He positioned himself opposite Anita in the HR office. She remained mostly silent the day he unveiled his true self. Her posture had improved, yet her fingers continued to fidget with the hem of her sleeve. Xander mentioned that he had gone through your file. No incidents, above average output, however. There was one instance where you were noted for leaving early to pick up your brother from the hospital. Anita gave a single nod. Greg was indifferent to the reasons behind my departure. He is no longer employed here. He didn't work at all, she stated, her voice barely above a whisper. He simply bided his time, anticipating the moment when someone would falter. Xander inclined, his body slightly forward. I'm not looking to go over old ground. I'm seeking clarity on what it takes for you to remain. Anita blinked, momentarily taken aback. Remain. You're skilled in your craft, but that holds significance only if you wish to continue pursuing it in this place. She paused thoughtfully. I desire to, yet it seems that yearning for things here only leads to exhaustion. Xander refrained from pushing. I'll follow up again next week. In the interim, HR is introducing a rotating early out option for emergencies. Utilize it as necessary, without hesitation. That isn't a preferred standard policy at this time. Just as she exited the room, Lorna, the head of HR, stepped in, clutching a folder. Her voice bore the grit of countless years spent shouting above the clamor of machines, yet her thoughts remained as incisive as ever. Payroll has identified 3 supervisors who were involved in the manipulation of time logs. She mentioned that they were altering clockouts to create the appearance that individuals departed earlier than they actually did. What are the names? Trevor, Mia, and Harlan. Everything is at a mid-level. Everyone has been trained under Greg. Let them go today. Lorna remained unperturbed, currently in the process of drafting the necessary paperwork. The remaining floor leads are tidy, yet feeling inundated. Reassign Jorge to provide direct support to Lee. She is currently overseeing 3 lines. He remains a novice in the position. He has a deep insight into human nature. Lorna nodded in agreement, noting that this was certainly more than could be said for the majority of the leadership present. Additionally, there's something else to consider. Yesterday, there was a report from security. A contractor was denied entry at the gate, claiming he had a standing order for vending deliveries. However, it has been more than a year since we last had a contract of that nature. Xander scowled. What did he say? He mentioned that he had been providing snacks and beverages for payment. He mentioned that he leaves it in Greg's truck each month. Is there any footage available? Already retrieved. It seems accurate. Xander rose to his feet. Conduct a comprehensive review of the expenses for Greg's department. Should there be additional content, I would like to receive it by tomorrow. The remainder of the day revealed itself in subtle yet meaningful fragments. Lee transformed the assembly lines into tandem units, enabling workers to switch between stations every 2 hours. While it didn't completely resolve the issue, it certainly alleviated the discomfort caused by repetitive movements. The outdated scanner has finally been replaced by a newer model. Thanks to maintenance efforts, the change was instant. Reduced rework, fewer backups. As the afternoon waned, Xander encountered a young man by the supply cage. He crouched low, attempting to force open a stubborn drawer with a flathead screwdriver. Looking for assistance, Xander inquired. The man glanced upward, his face tinged with color. No, I've got it. Sorry. I didn't notice your presence. May I ask what your name is? Marcus. I manage inventory. How long have you been here? Approximately 5 months. The temp agency mentioned the possibility of transitioning to a full-time position, yet silence has enveloped the surroundings. Do you appreciate the peace? Marcus gave a nonchalant shrug. Everything is okay. I pursued a degree in logistics, which aligns somewhat with this, yet I've primarily been advised to keep my distance. Xander pointed toward the cluttered drawer. What transpired in this place? The drawer runners are distorted. Last week, the entire cage was dropped by someone. I submitted a fix order, but it seems it never got recorded. To whom did you give it? Trevor. Xander gave a single nod. He has departed from the company. Beginning tomorrow, you will be reporting straight to procurement. We'll arrange for the drawer to be replaced, and I would like a complete inventory count completed by next Friday. Do you believe you can manage that? Marcus's eyes grew large with surprise. Absolutely. Yes, sir. If you're considering a full-time opportunity, expect a contract in your inbox by Monday. Marcus straightened his posture, the screwdriver still firmly in his grip. Thanks a lot. Returning to the upper floor, the finance team had assembled an initial audit. Their discovery validated Lorna's intuition. Over the past 18 months, Greg had approved numerous payments to contractors that were not officially recorded. Minor sums, slightly under approval limits, amounting to almost $50,000, were predominantly categorized as miscellaneous services or facility maintenance. Xander gazed intently at the spreadsheet. He maintained a low profile, with a hint of reluctance. The finance lead responded, yet assured that everything is traceable. We have received the checks. Send all documents to the legal department. I would like to have a comprehensive recovery plan submitted. As the day drew to a close, Xander took one final stroll across the floor. As the shift change commenced, individuals flowed through the space with a newfound ease, a stark contrast to the tension that had permeated the atmosphere earlier in the week. Challenges persisted. He observed a holdup on line 6, a congestion of raw materials by the rear wall. Yet the distinction was tangible. He encountered Jorge close to the locker area. How is Lee managing? She's striving diligently, yet wisely. Her words captivated the audience. As you find your footing in your new position, I'm still navigating the learning curve. But indeed, it brings a sense of satisfaction to finally resolve issues rather than merely navigating through them. As Jorge began to walk away, Xander shouted after him. Additionally, I would like you to begin mentoring Marcus. He's astute. However, he requires someone with more experience in this place. Jorge gave a subtle nod. I'll bring him in next week. As Xander emerged into the open air, he noticed the parking lot was still partially occupied. Yet there was an absence of the usual throng eager to escape. No weary employees shuffling towards their vehicles. Just individuals wrapping up their workday, making their way home. He lingered by his truck for a moment, glancing back as Lee emerged, wiping her hands with a rag. You're still around, Habit, Xander remarked. I often found myself lingering long after my obligations were fulfilled. She cast a fleeting look over her shoulder at the structure. We certainly have quite a journey ahead of us. Yet things have changed. He gazed at her. Your influence, along with Jorge's, has led to a moment where voices are finally being acknowledged. She glanced at her hands, then lifted her gaze once more. We simply required a listening ear, Xander acknowledged with a slow nod. You possess that now. Additionally, there is more to consider. They lingered in quietude for a moment, then Lee pivoted, making his way to her car without uttering another syllable. Xander observed her departure before climbing into his truck. He hesitated to start the engine immediately. He remained still, fingers lightly placed on the wheel, lost in thought. He would be visiting the Glendale facility tomorrow. Next, Prescott. The rest, no matter the cost. The sole path to mending a fractured system lay in traversing every single part of it, with the sun barely peeking over the horizon. Xander made his way back to Riverbend the following Monday, one floor at a time. This time, it's not about being incognito or merely watching. It's about taking action and making things happen. He entered the facility with a binder tucked under his arm, focused on ensuring that the structural changes would be lasting. The front office lay in a serene hush, punctuated only by the gentle hum of the coffee machine. Lorna sat at her desk, sifting through a pile of personnel files. The recovery process regarding the Greg situation has been legally cleared, she stated, without raising her gaze. They will take a civil approach, and we will recover the majority of it. Xander set the binder down on her desk. Please include this in today's agenda. We are introducing a new role for cross-department liaison, which will be filled internally. Lorna flipped open the binder. Resolving conflicts between departments, providing feedback on processes, overseeing training. You're creating a connection. I'm ensuring that everyone receives the attention they deserve this time. This position falls under my direct supervision. She arched an eyebrow. Indeed, there is someone I have in mind. Anita. Lorna reclined, deep in thought. Silent, yet keen, she maintains a low profile. She will pose the pertinent inquiries. She has indeed, Xander remarked. She simply lacked the power to make her voice resonate. On the ground, transitions were occurring. The machines had yet to spring to life, yet the air was alive with the murmur of conversation. Xander strode confidently, pausing only when he spotted Anita examining a fresh layout, schematic by line 4. Her sleeves rolled up, and a clipboard tucked under one arm. Do you have a moment? He inquired. She cast a quick look and gave a single nod. Absolutely. They entered the once bustling supervisor station, now silent and forgotten. He presented her with a solitary page of the offer letter. I would like you to assume a new role, he stated. You will communicate directly with me, collaborate with various teams, and identify potential issues before they escalate into problems. Her fingers clenched the paper with intensity. I'm not in a managerial role, and neither are you. And that's precisely what establishes your qualifications. You've experienced the challenges firsthand, and you understand what often goes overlooked. She meticulously folded the page. What happens if individuals choose not to pay attention? He assured me that they would. As the policy supports you this time, she raised her gaze. What if I decline? I'll persist in my inquiries until you agree. A corner of her mouth lifted, not quite a smile, but something akin to it. I will consider. It acts beyond mere thoughts, he urged. Please join me upstairs at noon. We will proceed with the onboarding process. He placed the letter down and made his way across the floor toward the west corridor, where Lee was engrossed in reviewing maintenance logs with 2 technicians. She stood up straight upon noticing him. There's a delay with the part for the secondary belt, she mentioned. The load has been redirected to line 2 for the time being. We'll meet our target, but it's going to be a close call, Xander acknowledged the decision with a nod. An extra tech will be available to you by Wednesday. She nodded in agreement, confirming that a transfer from Glendale had been approved. We'll maintain our momentum. He mentioned that Jorge has also been added to the plant-wide improvement team. You will take charge of it. Regular gatherings, structured as a task force. Please ensure that you provide your report to me by Friday. Lee arched an eyebrow. You're not returning to the corporate world. I will, but I won't fade away. I will visit each location twice a week, ensuring a thorough rotation through all sites. She passed the tablet to a technician and discreetly led Xander away. You're not just adjusting your path, she said. You're starting anew from the very foundation. There's simply no alternative, he stated. The top-down model did not succeed. I won't say it again. Her gaze drifted beyond him, fixating on the distant edge of the floor. Many of these individuals have not engaged in a genuine dialogue with management for quite some time. Your presence transformed everything. All eyes are on us, he remarked. I would prefer if they engaged with something truly worthwhile. By mid-morning, Jorge strolled through line 6, alongside Marcus, clipboard firmly in hand. The two engaged in an intense conversation, gesturing towards a lineup of bins that had been organized for quicker retrieval. I'd relocate the barcode scanner to this spot, Marcus suggested. Jorge nodded, cutting the reach zone down to half. We can give it a go during the upcoming shift. If it proves effective, we will implement it across the entire floor. Xander watched from afar, taking in how the workers nearby engaged not with the usual cautious quiet he had witnessed previously, but with a sincere interest. Transformations had evolved beyond mere declarations. They were apparent in their movement. On the upper floor, the HR team conducted a roundtable discussion featuring 3 new recruits from Glendale. Xander made a quick entrance. He mentioned that the orientation will feature a detailed overview of our revised policies. A mentorship program has also been introduced. You will be matched with seasoned professionals to assist you in getting settled. A new team member, a woman in her 40s, with experience in logistics, raised her hand. Does that encompass shift rotations? I need to organize childcare, Xander acknowledged. We are now sharing schedules 2 weeks ahead of time. Last-minute changes are not permitted unless it's an emergency. The woman offered a brief nod, content with the outcome. Xander retraced his steps and descended the stairs to the loading dock, where a delivery was, in the process of being unloaded. A sturdy figure, the dock supervisor named Darren, signaled for him to come over. Always got a minute, Xander said. Darren mentioned that 3 trucks have arrived this week, each with incomplete manifests. We are not receiving complete shipments, whether from suppliers or internally, and it's the same distributor each time. I've recorded it, but I'm unsure if it's being escalated appropriately, Xander declared. I'll take care of escalating it myself. Meanwhile, document each inconsistency. I'll have procurement analyze the trend, Darren agreed. Thank you for your kindness. Back on the floor, Anita stood by the supervisor's station, clutching a letter in her hand. I'll accept the role, she stated, but I have one stipulation. Give it a name. She expressed her desire to avoid sitting in an office. I wish to remain on the floor. If I can't envision it occurring, I can't advocate for it. Completed, Xander remarked. By early afternoon, the revamped assembly layout was operating with greater efficiency. Employees were rotated every 2 hours, while team leaders kept an eye on efficiency, ensuring that safety was prioritized over speed. The pace of turnover was diminishing. There has been an increase in applications for full-time positions. Interviews have been arranged by HR for 3 available positions. At 4:30, Xander convened all supervisory staff in the spacious break room. Rows of folding chairs were arranged meticulously. The coffee urns were set aside. Without any distractions, simply a calm concentration. I want to express my gratitude to each and every one of you, Xander began. The past fortnight has served as a fresh start, yet it marks merely the onset of a new journey. He surveyed the room, where many eyes were fixed on him. Several individuals jotted down notes. You've witnessed the rapid unraveling that occurs when silence prevails. You've witnessed the outcomes that unfold when individuals are given the authority to take action. The distinction lies between mere employment and a vibrant culture. A handful of heads bobbed in agreement. I'm not seeking flawlessness. I seek responsibility. When something is broken, repair it. When someone is facing difficulties, extend your support. If a policy seems illogical, bring it to my attention. He paused. Anyone who shows disrespect towards those who keep this place functioning simply does not have a place here. Silence enveloped the room. Yet the silence seemed substantial, anchored. He mentioned that we would continue to meet on a monthly basis. We will assess our advancements, focusing on quality rather than mere results. And if we ever stray from what truly counts, I'll return to the ground, as the last of the crowd filtered away. Xander lingered in the space. Jorge was the last to enter, balancing 2 leftover chairs in his arms. The atmosphere has changed, Jorge remarked. Indeed, Xander responded. Do you believe they'll continue it once you're gone? Xander declared. I'm not leaving. I'm simply taking a step back. There exists a distinction. Jorge placed the chairs carefully on the ground. I will maintain my position. I understand. That evening, Xander made his way back to his office in the city. The skyline shimmered beyond the glass. Yet he remained oblivious to its allure. Instead, he examined a fresh initiative from the company, wide listening tours, set to occur quarterly. Team members from all tiers would gather with the executives, unfiltered, casual, simply truthful. He affixed his signature to the memo, shut his laptop with a decisive click, and reclined in his chair. Riverbend remains unfixed. Not completely. Not at this moment. Yet it brought a sense of restoration. gradually, concretely. And this time, he would ensure that distance would never again cloud his vision.